Hello everyone, welcome back to the Standards Education Talk. My name is Corinne Jung and I will be your host for today. So today we'll be talking about supporting children's mental wellness through acts of charity. And joining us today we have Mr. Howard Tuckett, the Headmaster of Wycombe Abbey School, Hong Kong, and also Mr. Toby Mountjoy, Chairman of the Autism Partnership Foundation. So first I'd like to direct this question to you, Mr. Tuckett. Your school is very keen on supporting mental wellness in young children, and we know that recently, back on October, your school participated in the HSBC Building Big Challenge. So first of all, can you tell us more about the event, and how do you think joining this event could help with a child's mental wellness?
Yeah, thank you, Corinne. So certainly we believe that a child's well-being, their mental health, has got to be in a good place before we can expect them to learn anything academic. So we have to look after the whole child. There's this really famous phrase that not many people understand called holistic education, and it really means educating the whole child. And part of that is making sure that a child is mentally as well and as healthy as they can be. And of course, after the last few years in Hong Kong, as well as the rest of the world, children's mental health has really been a topic. And all teachers around the world and teachers in Hong Kong will know what I'm talking about. As children have returned back to more normal schooling, we have seen some pretty extraordinary behaviours from perfectly normal, capable children as they readjust to being back into the society of other children, which has really underpinned the need for well-being in the curriculum, as well as being in and amongst all the pastoral care that we do amongst the teaching. To come back to this specific project, this was a great project. We were so excited when HSBC contacted us through Michelle Chu, because it meant that young children could do something practical and realistic by themselves that could support a charity. Very often we talk to children about charity, about great needs in the world, people who need our support, people who need our empathy, our understanding. But what can a 7 or 8 or 9-year-old child really do? Very often they learn about these things, but to actually give them something practical to do can be quite challenging. So HSBC coming up with this purpose-built model of building bricks to build the HSBC tower, and for each tower that was completed, HSBC would contribute funds to the charity, to APF. It meant that our children could take this thing home. It was quite a tricky model to build. It took 3 of us in the office, well, quite a long time to get it right. And they knew that by just doing this very practical, very real exercise, they were helping other people. So we were delighted to engage in it.
Actually, that was really interesting, talking about holistic education and the fact that these kids were able to build something. You know, it's about Legos, and of course children very much enjoy building something that's so practical, yet being able to help out other members of the community. And actually, Toby, your organization, Autism Partnership Foundation, is all about helping children who are on the spectrum, and especially from low-income families. And with using applied behavior analysis, also known as ABA globally, and to offer those services to children by establishing AP schools. So given that, you know, it's all about giving back to the community, why did your organization decide to team up with HSBC and join up this event?
Well, we were really, really excited to get the phone call from HSBC on a number of levels. On one level, we also really enjoyed participating in the project. Our students also get to build the models with a little bit of help. It was a great project for them to do in the school as well as at home with their parents. A lot of our kids love Lego. It's a pretty, logical kind of thing to put together, and they enjoy that a lot. So it was really, really good for the parents to get involved, to be doing some things with their children. And also for the children that we see, they have a lot more challenges than typically developing children. Play skills is actually one of those things. Often children with autism have very restricted interests. And as part of our curriculum in our school, developing passions, interests, hobbies, things that they're going to be doing when they get older that helps them to integrate into the community, to have interesting things, passions for them to do is all really, really important as part of our goal. So doing the Lego project was a really good opportunity for some of the children to get involved with Lego for the first time, and also to build on those children that already were quite interested. On another perspective, we're always very happy when people call us up and tell us that they may want to donate us some money. So these 3 years have been incredibly tough for charities in Hong Kong. We raise 85% of our money through, a gala dinner that we do every year. And we haven't had it for 3 years. Luckily, we had it very recently,
Yes.
as you know, but it's been a really, really tough time. And, how do we continue to provide services for those children? I mean, we're raising money to many of the families that do the low income services that don't pay anything. So it's been a challenge. So having some financial help as well as doing that project was really, really great for us.
Yes, and listening to that was very insightful, having those children on the spectrum being able to build Legos and also receiving funds as well. Really important to giving back to the community. And actually, through this event, you could say it really ties into one of the aims both of your organizations strive to do, which is, of course, giving back to the community. For example, your school is all about, having kids participate in charity and as well learning some very important life lessons along the way. And as for your organization, for Autism Partnership Foundation, you help children who are on the spectrum, and also you help them provide these services, as well as a chance for providing education that they might not easily receive. So actually, first let's direct this question to you. What does giving back to the community mean for you and your organization?
Well, I first started my work in Hong Kong back in 1996. And we began with a private company that provides therapy to children with autism, and that company still exists. And that company actually is Autism Partnership. But we founded the foundation arm back in 2009 with a vision to create a school specifically to serve the needs of children with autism. And part of that project was us kind of giving back from the company that we'd formed earlier, where we were able to see often quite wealthy parents that could afford the very extensive services we provided. And also there wasn't many specific schools for children with autism at that time. Most of the schools tend to be more generic special education placements, maybe still with a bit of an emphasis on academics. We wanted to have a very specialized school where teachers would be very well trained in autism and be able to really manage and teach a curriculum that would be individualized and helpful for those students. So the formation of the charity itself was sort of a statement or a mission for us to try to give back to some of the community in a way that we weren't necessarily doing with a private company. So the first was the school, and then secondarily came, for low-income families to be getting intensive services for their young children. And we were growing a lot of those things in 2019 and have had to take a bit of a step back, but we hope as we go through the next few years, we'll also be able to continue to grow the range of services and programs for children in the community. So it's a big mission for us.
Yes, thank you so much for that very insightful response, and especially helping neurodivergent kids, and as well as helping giving back to your the Autism Partnership organization as well. So directing this question back to you, how does participating in this event promotes the idea of giving back to the community?
I think it's a valuable thing for children of the primary school age to engage themselves in anything like that, simply because at their stage of life, they're coming out of very young childhood, but they're still very inwardly looking. They're very egocentric, younger children, and it's only as they go through later primary years they start to become more naturally aware of the world about them and start to see things through other people's eyes. So anything we can do to support that development by encouraging children of early primary years through 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years of age to take the view of other people, to be aware of what's going on outside their own personal shell, is always a good thing to do for a primary school to do. But again, I come back to the COVID years. So many of these children in Hong Kong spent the best part of a year and a half in their own apartment, and so any possibility of becoming more extrovertly engaged just didn't exist. To be even to socialize normally with their own friends was difficult enough without even going beyond that into the greater community. So we're really jumping at every opportunity we can at the moment to get our children involved in thinking what life might be like from somebody else's point of view, and if they can do that in a supportive way, whatever the support is, we're working actively at that, probably harder than we would normally do in a primary school, simply because we're trying to make up for lost time. In any stage of education, roughly 3 years has been chopped out of each child's education regardless of the stage, but the younger they are, the more critical the gap is, because we'll never get that back again.
Yes, and very understanding that COVID definitely has impacted a child's growth and has limited their interaction with different kinds of people, especially giving back to the community and charity, and also like not only just people in need, but just shut off completely from the world.
We found when children came back to school, their tolerance for spending time with other children was limited, and they had to learn to socialize again.
Yes.
Even quite advanced primary age children could only tolerate each other's sort of classroom community for a couple of hours, and then they'd had enough, and strange things were happening, and we had to put in a structure for that. It's over now, but they all, as children do, they adapted very quickly, but there was definitely a period where we had to teach them to get on with each other again. Yeah.
Yes, so definitely by joining this charity event not only allows for the children to help others, but as well, getting that social interaction with the community that they so desperately need to be in touch with.
Yeah.
So, Toby, so what are your thoughts on having young children being able to help other children and giving back to other members of the community in need, especially when they have been, previously shut off from the world because of this COVID pandemic?
Yeah, I think it goes back a lot to what you said. It's just a very practical program that, if you sort of talk to children about giving more back to the community or charities, like, of course they could understand that kind of makes sense, but, in a way they're practically being able to they're not going to be going to a gala dinner or writing checks to organizations or reading for annual reports. Being able to just practically be involved in something they can do, and also at the same time knowing that their participation is generating some revenue for beneficiaries and other children that might be in need, I think it's really, really cool. I think it's an easy way for them to understand how a simple thing like that could be contributing. So yeah, that's a nice thing about the program, as you mentioned before, I think.
Yes, and actually, going back to the idea of giving back to the community, actually this isn't your only charity event that you've participated. So for students that can learn to give back to the community. Your school is also dedicated on unlocking a child's potential along the way, from other than trying to help others in need and getting life lessons along the way. So other than those 14 subjects your school offers, you also have ECA programs and various excursions and clubs. So how do you think that, doing charity and all these activities could help, achieve that in unlocking a kid's potential?
I think one of the underpinning philosophies of any primary school is that you're preparing a child for higher study and also for their adult working life. So the 14 subjects that we teach, which are the standard English, Chinese, maths, history, geography, science, art, and so on and so forth. Don't question me because I'll forget one, but there are 14 of them. These are the standard subjects you'd find in most schools. As a prep school, we're preparing children for entry to boarding schools all around the world, very often to UK independent schools, but we have children, about half stay in Hong Kong and about half go to other parts of the world, mostly the UK, but we've had them go to Singapore, Australia, Portugal, the States, Canada, really wherever parents' careers take them. And by having those core 14 subjects, we find that we've pretty much got children, the aim is to have them prepared for anywhere in the world, in any style of education. And obviously it helps if we know where they're going, because that gives us time to refine what we're doing with certain individuals. But that's the aim of the curriculum we designed, and the curriculum was designed specifically for this school at the same time as we built the school. So the school is built around the curriculum we designed. So everything locks like a Lego building. Everything locks in pretty neatly. The extracurricular activities, which we've been able to offer through most of the lockdown period, as the school's been able to stay open we're open till 5 o'clock most days. So there are 60 odd different clubs, of which we run about 50 each term, and children will typically select 5, 6, 7 of those spread over the 5 days, 2 sessions every afternoon, 3 till 4 and then 4 till 5, including just staying at school and doing their homework as a club. So by the time they go home at 5, day's done, the evening is theirs. And the range of clubs, one of the clubs actually is a charity. It's a recycling charity. And they collect up all the recycling in the school, load it into trolleys, take it down the road here to a recycling centre. And I think we're probably Aberdeen's greatest contributor to the recycling centre. And they're like a little bunch of elves drumming down there with their trolleys all stacked high, which is it's just they're called the Eco Warriors. And it's practical things that children can do to support a charity. Another thing we did was a few weeks ago, back in October, we arranged a beach clean on Sheko and all the children, Sheko Beach at the end of Hong Kong Island. And on a Saturday, it was a school day, everybody went to school except it was a teaching Saturday. Everybody went to Sheko and all the parents. And for most of the morning, we cleaned Sheko Beach. And I can't remember how many kilograms of plastic we pulled out of the beach, but it was bags and bags and bags of it. There's a pretty cool video online and on LinkedIn and on Facebook and what have you of it. People can look at it. And again, it's practical things that children can do to get involved with either the environment or if a child, there's the old story of giving a child a fish or teaching a child to fish. The practical engagement is what we're aiming for all the time.
Yeah, so definitely hearing that, not only do students have a chance to give back to the community, but also learn various life lessons, like, those, for example, you mentioned the plastic-free seas event where, not only do they get to know, they can help the earth by removing plastic, but also, the importance of reducing plastic waste and also saving the earth and being a bit more eco-friendly warriors, as you mentioned. So actually, not only is doing clubs helping a kid's potential, but also, expanding their horizons. And actually, similarly, your organization, your AP school has also been established by our organization by also helping children unlock their potential by making not only the ABA treatment more available to those parents and also for the kids themselves, but also more accessible, and using the Autism Partnership method. So how do you think using this method could help unlock children who are on the spectrum, unlock their potential, and as well as contribute to their mental wellness in not only children on the spectrum, but also neurodivergent children?
So the children we have in our school have a whole plethora of needs, and autism is a spectrum disorder. So some children are more profoundly affected by it than others, some mildly, some in the middle, some are fairly challenged. And many of the challenges they have are very different from maybe some of the challenges for typically developing children. So many of them may have big challenges with their language and communication, understanding as well as speaking and expressing their needs, or being able to describe their experiences. Many would have difficulties in socialization, whether that be maybe not being terribly motivated to, be with peers, or having anxiety or stress or difficulty to understand those interactions, which might make them successful. And many would have behavioral issues that may make regular education difficult for them. They may not pay very good attention. They may have a lot of disruptive behavior that is difficult to know what to do with. So we need to spend a lot of time in terms of our program to very individualize the program and the curriculum. We have a lot of teachers at our school. We have a ratio of about 1 teacher to every 2 students. And that enables us to individualize from teaching in large groups, or if we have a student who needs more specific kinds of things for an hour a day, we can actually allocate maybe to do some one-on-one, maybe for that week. It can be a highly flexible teaching arrangement where we can provide intensity as well as natural settings of teaching application. 50% of the students that come to our school return back to mainstream, which is quite remarkable for a special education school. Those might be children that cognitively they may be quite able to access a mainstream curriculum, but have experienced great unsuccess in a mainstream setting, and have needed additional help to get them on track. And some students will remain in our school, and we have to think about very carefully what are they going to do next, how are we preparing them for what. And again, that means many different things for our students depending on their capabilities. So again, hence the need for individualization. Some of them we might be preparing for jobs, etc. Some of them may find that a difficult outcome. So we're always trying to think in our curriculum about how do we maximize the potentials, and how do we focus on how do we help the student to have the highest quality of life possible with the many options by the end of our schooling that they can endeavor into. So yeah, the method is very individualized. It takes a lot of learning and a lot of training for the teachers to understand that. But our curriculum does tend to be slightly more therapeutic than it is academic, although we teach a lot of kids academics. We have some kids that are super bright in maths, and we would teach to their level and have them take exams. But we also recognize that a lot of the things I've just talked about will be very, very important in helping them to get better in those areas if they're going to be maximally successful in many of the things they'll need to do when they leave the school. So yeah, it's not any different really than thinking for your students, right? How to make them successful, what skills do they need in different aspects of their lives. Just maybe the outcomes for our students may be a bit more varied, and we have to consider other kinds of maybe arrangements, for our students. But we have a lot more teachers, so we can
Yes, and definitely, of course, definitely the more flexible aspect of the education, as well as catering to each child's special needs. And also, one thing that's similar is actually, the need to adapt to society, as well as the engagement with not only members of society, but also giving back to the community, and tying back to your school actually, with this combination of academic learning, but also with engagement with the community, encouraging students to learn outside of school. You could say that this is, as you mentioned before, it is a holistic education. It is very much experiential learning. So, for example, one of the classes that your school provides, which is PSHE, which is, already teaches the students the values of social responsibility and kindness. And, by actively joining these charity events, not only do the school, not only do the students not get to, only get to have fun in making Legos and contribute to the community, it also lets them to see how their actions could be very impactful to the world, and how to see these things in the real world. So what do you think by providing this type of holistic education could not only unlock the kids' potential, but also contribute to their mental wellness, as well as preparing them for the near future and adapting to society, whatever it may be?
Yeah, well, I think the key word in all of that is the community aspect. I think if the lockdown years, the COVID years have taught us anything, it's that no matter how clever the technology, children cannot learn in isolation. So we've got all the technology, we got really good at teaching children at home. If that was really a viable educational model, we wouldn't need 4 stories that we're sitting in at the moment. We could shut this place down. We could teach the whole school from 2 desks in a room somewhere. The thing is, education, learning has to happen in community. Collaborative learning with others, learning to accept other people's point of view, learning to work out a problem as a group, learning that somebody actually has got a slightly better idea than you have, and that can hurt sometimes. It can be really irritating because you think you've got it all sorted out, and then somebody just goes, yes, but what if? And they just blow your theory. And when you're 9 and you're tired and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, children can get scratchy. Just like grown-ups can get scratchy in meetings when somebody else can just do something, thinks of something you didn't think of. And as grown-ups, we have to deal with that. As children, they have to learn to deal with that. So all learning is a group, it's a collaborative exercise. It's about tweaking, it's about tinkering, it's about taking a concept and taking an answer that wasn't quite right the first time. Well, let's take it away, the three of us, and pull our answer around. Maybe it could be an answer about a piece of standard comprehension. It could be a piece of computer work. It could be programming. It could be a practical model. It could be an art design. It could be anything, whatever the curriculum requires, but the children will go off together. I often say to parents, when you're looking at schools for your children and you're on the school tour, the school you've gone to, and the school are good enough to take you past a lesson, don't watch the teacher. Although that's the most natural thing to do, that's a performance. Look at what the children are doing. If the children are just sitting there receiving, there's not an awful lot of learning going on. If the children are working together, they might be receiving some instruction at the beginning, but then they need to take that instruction and put it into action in that lesson. That's learning. And they might not get it right the first time. And we'll always say a wrong answer is halfway to being a right answer, and it's better than no answer at all. And children are very, it sounds like a simple thing, but children are very often quite hesitant about answering at all in case they get things wrong. And it's a massive thing to overcome, and it's a massive thing to overcome in front of other people. It's the social aspect again. So learning has to be done in community, it has to be done collaboratively. And from that, we can then branch out into doing the greater good for other people, whether it's supporting other children, whether it's supporting the environment, or whatever it is.
So that was very insightful, especially about learning, collaborative learning, as well as the important thing of learning on the process is about accepting and tolerance, especially towards failure, because kids can be easily very scared and put off by the experience of having to receive failure. But the important thing is absolutely just embracing the process. Absolutely. So now that we've reached the conclusion, do any of you have any final closing remarks that you would like to add? So let's start with Howard.
Well, the whole exercise, ever since we first were contacted to get involved with the gala event and the Lego, it's been an absolute joy and a delight for us. I'm pleased to say I had a phone call with some of the staff about a practical matter the other day. So our two schools are making links and working together as professionals. It's broadened our horizons. It's been invaluable for our pupils. I'm very proud that we actually managed to make 40 models, given that I struggled for a whole afternoon to do about half a model, that children about a fifth of my age managed to do these.
You just out of practice.
I think I need to go back, yeah. And I'm sure lots of mums and dads were helping. So for our community, our school community, it was a fantastic thing to do. Was very proud to be so graciously accepted at the gala evening and made to feel so welcome. And a great thing for education across Hong Kong.
So while there is that really difficult process of the Legos and the building,
the Lego was tough. Yeah, the rest of it was really good.
Yeah, it's definitely contributes to a greater cause, and while it is difficult, it's absolutely worth it in the end.
Yeah. So
Toby, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, it was for us, as I mentioned before, it's a fantastic event. The children really loved it. The teachers were super engaged. Parents were really interested in helping their children, and of course it's been a real wonderful thing for us to have some more money to spend on resources for low-income families. So it's been an amazing project. We also got to meet some really nice people too, and we had some people, many of the teachers came to the gala dinner, which was fantastic, and they could get a bit more of a sense of what our organization does, meet some of the beneficiaries of actually the program who were there to do some dances and sell you tickets.
Yeah, they did very well. Yeah.
So that was really nice actually to also engage a bit more and have some overlap with some other people who are doing education also. That's always fascinating. So I'd really like to thank HSBC for putting it all together and facilitating that for our families and students. We're very, very grateful.
Yes. And thank you so much. And this comes to the end of our education talk. So once again, thank you so much for Mr. Howard Tuckett, and Mr. Toby Mountjoy for joining us today for our education talk about supporting children's mental wellness through acts of charity. And thank you everyone for joining us today for our education talk, and see you next time. Bye.